welcome to Vibe Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. Today I'll be teaching us how to make a buba for a 7-year-old child. So the measurement required to achieve this buba, because this is the fabric I'll be using, is the child's top length. That's from shoulder to her hip line or above the hip line, depending on what you want to achieve. In this case, I'm using the shoulder measurement to the hip line of the child, and that is 19 inches for this child. And then again, the width of the buba. To determine the width of the buba, you need to know the measurement from the midpoint of the child's neckline. That's from the center back here. You take the measurement from the shoulder and just drop a little. So you determine how much you want to drop. In this case, I'll be dropping by 3 inches. This will determine how wide this buba will be. These 3 inches, as our sewing allowance, is inclusive. Why am I saying this? The child's shoulder measurement is 6 inches. That's 12 divided by 2. That's 6 inches. And I'm adding 3 to it. So that's giving me 9 inches. So of course, 9 inches. Remember that we're going to be folding our fabric into 4. So because I'm folding my fabric into 4, 9 inches in all will give me 38 inches. So that's why I'm saying 36 inches. So that's why I'm saying I've added both my sewing allowance. So I'm adding 3 inches to my measurement. So that has given me 36 inches. Okay, so to fold my fabric, because I'll be folding both the front and back together, I'll be using this Ankara fabric. Remember, I said the top length of this child is 19 inches. So I'll be adding my hemming allowance. So if this is 19 inches, I'm going to be adding a hemming allowance of 2 inches. So here is my 2 inches, which has given me 21 inches. So here's my 21 inches. And then I'll come this way again. Now I have the length of the buba. So I'll come this way now and measure that 9 inches I talked about. So here now is my 9 inches. So here's my 9 inches. Then I'll measure another 9 inches. So I'll go ahead, I'll fold this 9 inches. So now this automatically has given me both for the front and back. So in a situation where you want to have slit on this buba, if you want to have slit on this buba, like the regular bubas usually have slit here, you add 1 inch for your slit allowance. So that means this measurement that I have here, this 9 inches, I'm going to be making it 10 inches. So, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, because I want to have a slit at the down part. Mostly bubas are mostly worn with wrapper, but you can dare to be different. You can wear it with your trouser, which will still come out well. So I'm just going to get to the table and place this fabric so that we can get right into the drafting. So now look at it. This is the length of the top. That's the buba blouse. Here I have my 21 inches, which is inclusive with my hemming allowance. And then here I have 20 inches. Remember, I said I'm going to be using 10 inches because this will be for both left and right. So now this is my 20 inches. So I folded my fabric into 4. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So meaning that I'll be cutting both front and back. So for buba, you don't have to join, it doesn't have a shoulder slant. You're not going to be joining the shoulder, it's just going to be like this. So this is why it is placed on fold into 4. So we're not going to be slashing the shoulder or cutting the shoulder slant. It's just going to be a very free top. Okay, so now I'm going to be marking my 9 inches now. Remember, I said that 9 inches is plus my sewing allowance. So I'm going to mark my 9 inches. Mark my 9 inches. Then I'll come up here from the hem by 6 inches, which is going to be for the slit. You remember that I used 10 inches because I want to have extra 1 inch for slit. So the slit is going to be a 4 inches slit. Remember that 2 inches is my hemming allowance. So it's going to be a 4 inches slit. So that's why I'm coming up by 6 inches. So I'll mark my 6 inches here. And then I'll come here and mark my 9 inches. So can you see? So this is what we will have. You can see that here I have 10 inches and here I have 9 inches. So I'm going to be connecting my 9 inches points. Okay, so basically this is just what I need. So I'll cut out this part, my slit allowance of 1 inch. Okay, using a neck width and a neck depth of 2 inches. So I'm going to mark my 2 inches and then 2 inches. So I'll bring in my curved ruler and draw the neckline. So this is the neck depth for this child, front and back. Okay, so now I'll go ahead to cut the sleeve for the child. The sleeve length of this buba is going to be a long sleeve, and the sleeve length of this child is 18 inches. So 18 inches, remember that I've added 3 inches to my measurement here. Remember that this is our actual shoulder measurement. I said the actual shoulder measurement is 12 inches. When you divide it by 2, that will give you 6 inches. So now I added 3 inches to my measurements, which means that the shoulder measurement has increased. So it's going to be dropping down that's dropping down to the hand, that's coming down to the arm here. So this 3 inches is what will be coming down. So remember that I'll be joining my sleeve here. So automatically that means I'll be joining my sleeve with half inch. So that means I'll be left with 2.5. And I said our sleeve length is 18 inches because it's a long sleeve I'm making. If our sleeve length is 18 inches, you're going to subtract 2.5 from 18 inches. So when I subtract 2.5 from 18 inches, I'll be left with 15.5. So meaning that the sleeve length I'll be cutting will be 15.5. And now to determine the width of the sleeve length is our armhole measurement that I'll be using. So the armhole of this child is 5.5. So I'll be cutting the sleeve with the width of 5.5 plus my 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I'm going to place my fabric and cut it out. Fabric for the sleeve, I'm using a width of 5.5 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance, so that will leave me with 6.5. So here is my 6.5 now, and then remember the length we're looking for a length of 15 inches now. So here is my 15 inches, 15.5, sorry, 15.5. Then I'll add my hemming allowance of 1, and just like I added, okay, here I added 2 inches, so I'll go ahead and add the same 2 inches. So I'm going to be marking at 17.5. So this is now my hemming allowance. So it can be a 3/4 sleeve, it can be a short sleeve, depending on what the style you are making. But in this case, I'm making a long sleeve. Okay, so I need 2 of this. I've cut out my sleeve. Look at what we have. Okay, remember I have a hemming allowance of 2 inches here. So this is my 2 inches hemming allowance. So this is how I'll be attaching the sleeve to the main bubu, that's to the main buba, to the top. I'll be attaching it to the actual bodies like this. So now the next thing to do is to cut out my facing. But for the neckline now, this neckline of 2 by 2 will not allow this child's head to pass. And because if I make it more than 2 inches, of course it will be too wide on the neck. So I'm going to be creating a slit at the back that will be fixing a button so that the child's head that's to allow the child's head pass, and then the neckline will still sit well on the child's neck and not being too wide, and then the buba will be falling from the shoulder. So now I'm going to select, anyone can be your front arm or your back. Remember that they are both the same thing. So I will come here to this one. I'll just pick this one and slash it down. I'm slashing it down by 4 inches. So let me confirm if this is 4 inches. Okay, so this is actually 4 inches. I'm slashing it down by 4 inches. So now I'll go ahead to cut out my facing that I'll use to turn the neckline. Fabric like this. I'll also place it into 4. Remember that our buba is into 4. So I'm still going to place the neckline too into 4. So I'll come here now and place it this way. and then cut out the neckline. So now that I have my neckline, then I'll decide how deep this facing should go. Remember that I already slitted this by 4 inches. So you definitely have to have more than 4 inches coming down, especially for the back. So I'm just going to be using the same thing for both front and back. So I'll be using 6.5. So I'm just going to mark it this way now. Then I'll go ahead to cut it out. Okay, so this is my facing. So I'll open up the buba like this and then place the facing. Can you see this part? This is the shoulder line here. So I'll place the buba, the facing too like this. This is on the good face of the fabric. That's on the right side of the fabric. I'll make sure to also place it like this. The good face of the facing, facing the good face of the fabric. So can you see? So I'm placing it this way. Then I'll pin it round. I'll take it to the sewing machine and turn the neckline. Remember that we have a slit at the back. So because we have a slit at the back, we'll need to. So now let me pin it and show us how we're going to sew this. Okay. So now I'm going to take it to my machine and then sew it this way. I'm going to sew it round like this and then come down here and create this shape. But I'm going to put an elastic while I'm sewing this. My elastic is going to be here. My elastic is going to be here. That's half inch below the neckline because I'll be fixing a button to the other side so that the child can button it up at the back. So I'm going to show us how to fix the elastic before we go ahead to sew it. So I've cut out my elastic. I cut out an elastic of 1.5. Okay, this is an elastic of 1.5. Okay, this is even 2 inches, not 1.5. So I'm going to be fixing I'm going to be folding the elastic this way, and then I'll place it on the good side of the fabric. Can you see how I'm doing this? I'm going to come down 1 inch below the neckline and then place it this point. So can you see? So on the good side of the fabric. So this will be on the good side. In this part that is open will be inside here. So now take it to my sewing machine and then sew on half inch round the neck, of course, and then take it down to this part and create a V shape and come back here. Okay, so that's what I'll do. Then for the sleeve, you're going to get the midpoint of the sleeve now. And you see this center, which is now your shoulder line, and then this part too, you fold the buba into two and get the center of the shoulder. That's the shoulder line. Okay, and notch this point. So make sure that you are placing a notch against notch. Okay, placing good face facing good face like this. So I'll pin it so that it doesn't shift, and then I'll take to the sewing machine and sew on half inch here on this side. I'll do the same thing on the other side, then I'll show us. I've gone ahead to turn the neckline round, and then I created the slit, and I also went ahead to turn my sew the sleeve, to sew the sleeve to it, and then I went ahead to weave. So I'm going to notch this part now. I'm going to cut this part, the slit. Remember that, let me flip it to this side so that I cut exactly on the previous slit that we created. So I'm going to be slashing it down. Okay, so after doing that, I'm going to go ahead and notch the neckline round. So I'm going to turn it out now, as I'm turning the facing now to the wrong side. and then I'll give it a very nice ironing. Press it well. So can you see? So this is what we have. So you can see that if we didn't have this slit at the back, there's no how this size will pass the child's head. So this slit is just the best thing to have when you are making a buba for a child. Okay, so I'm going to press it well. After pressing it, I'll use hemming gum to hold down my facing. And then you can see I've also joined my sleeve. So after pressing it now, the next thing to do, I'm going to fold my hemming allowance. Remember I added 2 inches here. I'll fold my 2 inches here, and then I'll show us how to shape this dress. So fixing my hemming gum, I placed it very close to the tip of the facing, and then you want to use your steam iron to press it well. So can you see this side? This side has stuck. Can you see? It's no longer rising up. I'm just going to put some here. With our buba, the next thing to do now is to just shape it on 1 inch. Remember that that's what we added as our sewing allowance. So I'm going to be shaping it this way. I'll mark 1 inch here, mark my 1 inch all the way, and then I'll come in here the same 1 inch. So you see the way it will connect here. It will have like a sharp, let's call it an L shape here. To have an L shape here. So can you see? I'm going to connect it this way and then take it down this 1 inch. Take it down there. So I'll be doing the same thing to the other side. So I'll be sewing this way, and then I'll stop here at this slit. So by the time I sew and stop here at this slit, what I'll be doing to the slit is now fold this 1 inch and then fold 1 inch again to bring me inside. So before I will now top stitch the slit, I'll be doing the same thing to the other side. Then I'll go ahead to fold 2 inches, which is my hemming allowance. Then I'll show us the final outcome of the buba. Sides, then I have to notch here so that it will relax. So this is what it looks